Some cars fly under the radar, blending into traffic while secretly packing serious power. These unknown sleeper cars may look like average daily drivers, but they have enough performance to surprise even seasoned enthusiasts. Number 8. 1986. Shelby GLHS. Let's begin with the outstanding marvel of the automotive world that looks ordinary but has the power to take on sports cars. Shelby GLHS is an unknown sleeper car, a small hatchback that hides a surprising amount of speed. With 175 horsepower under the hood, it can hit 60 miles per hour in just 6.5 seconds. Even more impressive, it keeps pushing until it reaches a top speed of 130 miles per hour. Think of it like a sprinter who never loses momentum. But what makes this car so fast, and why does it fly under the radar? Let's break it down. At the heart of this beast is a turbocharged 134 cubic inch engine. The stock version had a respectable 146 horsepower, but some clever engineering transformed it into something much more exciting. With an air-to-air intercooler and a custom-designed intake manifold, the engine could handle more boost. This increased torque from 168 pound-feet to 175 pound-feet, giving it an extra kick. In simpler terms, this car delivers serious performance in a small package, making it a force to be reckoned with. Raw power isn't enough, it needs control. That's where the upgraded suspension comes in. This sleeper car stays planted on the road and features high-performance Coney gas-charged shocks. The stock tires were swapped for wider, grippier Eagle VR50 Gatorbacks, boosting traction significantly. Sitting lower than usual improves the car's stability, especially when cornering at high speeds. These upgrades ensure it doesn't just go fast in a straight line and dominates on twisty roads. On the track, this unknown sleeper car proves its worth. During tests at challenging circuits, it confidently handled sharp corners and rough patches. The suspension does an excellent job of keeping the ride stable without feeling unpredictable. While the steering is lighter, it makes city driving easier, balancing performance and daily usability. However, no car is perfect. While the stiff suspension is fantastic for racing, it's not the most comfortable for daily commutes. Driving through bumpy city streets might feel rough, but fortunately, the adjustable Coney shocks allow for fine-tuning, making the ride more bearable when needed. What truly makes this car stand out is how effortlessly it launches. Unlike many powerful front-wheel drive cars that struggle with wheel spin, this one grips the road well. When you floor the pedal, it takes off with purpose. There is some torque steer, but it's manageable and even adds to the thrill of driving. In the end, this unknown sleeper car is a true hidden powerhouse. It's quick, handles well, and delivers a thrilling experience without drawing too much attention. A reminder that some of the fastest cars on the road don't always look the part until they leave everything else in the dust. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss more awesome car content. Number 7. 1987. Mercury Cougar XR7. The 1987 Mercury Cougar XR7 was one of those cars that didn't scream for attention, but had enough power to surprise anyone who underestimated it. While most people were focused on Mustangs and Camaros, this Cougar quietly packed a solid 305 cubic inch V8 under the hood, making it one of the most overlooked performance cars of the decade. Ford dropped the old turbocharged 4-cylinder engine for this model year in favor of a 305 cubic inch fuel-injected V8. It wasn't the most powerful engine, but with 150 horsepower and plenty of torque, the Cougar felt stronger and more responsive, especially compared to the previous model's smaller engine. Even though the horsepower remained about the same, the extra torque gave the XR7 a much-needed performance boost, making it quicker off the line. Unfortunately, Ford also removed the 5-speed manual option for manual transmission fans. Instead, the only available transmission was a 4-speed automatic overdrive AOD, which fit the car's smooth and refined personality. While this wasn't the choice for hardcore racers, It made the Cougar XR7 a comfortable cruiser with a good balance of power and everyday drivability. While the Cougar XR7 wasn't designed to be a race car, it had a heavy-duty suspension setup, giving it a more planted feel on the road. It came with higher spring rates, a traction lock limited slip differential, and a 7.5-inch rear axle with quad shocks to help keep everything stable when taking corners. This setup allowed the XR7 to handle better than most expected from a big V8-powered coupe. One thing that made the Cougar XR7 stand out was its styling. It had black window trim, door handles, and XR7 badging on the C-pillars, giving it a sportier and more aggressive look than the standard LS model. The lower body accents featured tri-band striping, a signature design element from earlier XR7 models. Inside, the digital instrument cluster was standard, making the dashboard look futuristic. Instead of the traditional analog gauges, drivers got a fully electronic display that added a high-tech feel to the cockpit. The 1987 model year brought a significant design update to the Cougar. The car received a sleeker, more aerodynamic front end with flush headlights, wraparound turn signals, and a waterfall-style grille. The hood ornament was gone. Instead, the iconic cat head logo sat in the center of the grille. Not only this, Ford also worked on reducing wind noise by adding flush glass, extra weather stripping, and mirror-mounted rubber splitters to improve aerodynamics. As a result, the Cougar's drag coefficient dropped from 0.40 to 0.36, making it more fuel efficient and smoother. However, the Mercury Cougar XR7 had everything needed to be a solid performance car: a powerful V8, sport-tuned suspension, and sleek styling. Still, it was often overshadowed by the Ford Mustang and other muscle cars of the time. While it wasn't built for drag racing, it was a well-balanced coupe that could surprise people with its torque-heavy engine and smooth handling. For those who wanted a performance car without drawing too much attention, the Cougar XR7 was the perfect choice. It may not have been the fastest or flashiest car on the road, but it had enough power to remind people that sometimes the real performers are the ones you least expect. Number 6, 1985. Chevrolet Caprice 9 C1 Police Package. The 1985 Chevrolet Caprice 9 C1 was one of those cars that looked like any regular sedan on the road, but had serious performance upgrades hiding underneath. Built specifically for police use, this special package turned the standard Caprice into a tough, high-performance machine that could effortlessly chase down criminals. While it never got the same attention as muscle cars of the time, this was a true sleeper that packed plenty of surprises. At first glance, it didn't look much different from an ordinary Caprice, but Chevy gave the 9C1 package some significant upgrades. This version had a full steel perimeter frame, oversized sway bars, heavy-duty shocks, and stiffer body mounts. The suspension was tuned for high-speed stability, ensuring it could handle sharp turns without losing control. It also had quick-ratio power steering, speed-rated tires, and a heavy-duty cooling system to keep the engine from overheating during long pursuits. Under the hood, there were multiple engine choices. The base 262 cubic inch V6 pushed out 130 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque. If that wasn't enough, buyers could opt for a 244 cubic inch V8, which produced 165 horsepower, a solid improvement thanks to an upgraded ignition system and higher compression. For the police departments that wanted even more muscle, there was also a 348 cubic inch diesel V8, though it was eventually phased out. Inside, Chevy made some modern updates for 1985. The dashboard dropped its old wood grain look for a sleek metallic finish, and a new push-button headlight switch replaced the outdated pull-out style. Climate controls were improved with rotary dials, and the radio switched to a more modern design. Police versions also came with extra wiring for emergency lights and a certified speedometer to ensure accurate readings. With its durable build, upgraded suspension, and powerful engine options, the Chevrolet Caprice 9 C1 was one of the most underrated sleepers of the decade. It might not have looked like a performance car, but it had everything needed to handle the toughest, high-speed chases. Number 5, 1986. Dodge Daytona Turbo Z. Back in the mid-80s, performance cars were changing fast. With strict fuel economy, emissions rules, and safety regulations, old-school muscle cars were fading away. But Chrysler had a different plan. They embraced modern engineering, and one of their standout creations was the 1986 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z, a front-wheel drive coupe that packed way more punch than it looked. At first glance, the Daytona Turbo Z didn't scream high performance. It had a sleek, aerodynamic shape, borrowing design cues from both the Chevrolet Camaro and the Porsche 928. But under that stylish body, this car was built for serious speed. Chrysler knew the power of turbocharging, and they made sure this Daytona was one of the quickest in its class. Under the hood sat a 135 cubic inch, 8-valve, turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with multi-port fuel injection. It produced 142 horsepower and 160 pound-feet of torque. Strong numbers for a small coupe in the mid-80s. By the end of its run in 1986, the power bumped up slightly, making the Daytona even quicker. The close ratio 5-speed manual transmission was standard, but a 3-speed automatic was also available. What really made the Turbo Z special was its handling. Chrysler engineers took inspiration from the Porsche 944, adding nitrogen-charged shock absorbers, performance Goodyear Eagle GT tires, and a functional hood vent to keep things cool. In its final year, the CS package, short for Carroll Shelby, improved the suspension even further with upgraded dampers, thicker anti-roll bars, and wider gatorback tires for maximum grip. While the Daytona Turbo Z wasn't as famous as some of its rivals, it was proof that Chrysler knew how to build a fast, affordable, and exciting coupe. Number 4, 1987 Pontiac Bonneville SSE. The 1987 Pontiac Bonneville is one of those underrated cars that had a surprising amount of performance hidden beneath its sleek exterior. While it was often seen as just another full-size sedan, it had enough power to keep up with some of the best sleeper cars of its era. With a 231 cubic inch V6 engine under the hood, this car produced between 150 and 165 horsepower, along with 210 to 225 pound-feet of torque. Anyhow, that was more than enough to move this sedan with confidence, hitting 60 miles per hour in about 10 to 11 seconds, and completing the quarter mile in around 17 to 18 seconds. For a car that wasn't marketed as a high-performance machine, those numbers were quite respectable. Its top speed ranged between 110 and 120 miles per hour, making it no slouch on the highway. What made the Bonneville feel quicker than the number suggested was its design and handling. Pontiac gave it a sleek, aerodynamic look, smoothing out the edges and creating a shape that was more refined than many of its boxy competitors. The blackout trim, body-colored grille, and aggressive stance gave it a sporty presence, while the Fat Eagle GT tires ensured that it had the grip to match its performance. This car didn't just look fast, it had the hardware to back it up. Moreover, the driving experience was another reason why Bonneville deserves more recognition. Its suspension setup was finely tuned to provide both comfort and control, making it capable of taking corners with confidence while still absorbing bumps in the road with ease. It wasn't a traditional muscle car, but it didn't need to be. The balance between smooth handling and a responsive powertrain made it an enjoyable car to drive, whether you were cruising down the highway or pushing it a little harder on back roads. Inside, Pontiac went the extra mile to make the Bonneville feel special. One of its standout features was the futuristic red fighter pilot-style dashboard lighting, which looked especially cool at night. The gauges were clearly laid out, easy to read, and added to the car's sporty personality. While it had the comfort and space of a full-size sedan, it didn't feel like just another family car. It had a certain edge to it that set it apart. Of course, no car is perfect. Some of the power accessories had a reputation for acting up over time, but when it came to performance and driving enjoyment, the Bonneville delivered more than most people expected. It wasn't just about straight-line speed, it was about the complete package. It had the looks, the handling, and just enough power to make it a true sleeper. Despite being overlooked, the 1987 Pontiac Bonneville was an unassuming performance machine. It wasn't flashy, but it could hold its own against more recognized performance sedans of the era. it remains one of those hidden gems that enthusiasts appreciate for being more than what it seemed. Number 3. 1983. AMC Eagle SX/4. Back in the early 80s, American Motors Corporation had a wild idea. What if a sporty car could also handle rough terrain like a Jeep? That thinking led to the 1983 AMC Eagle SX/4, a four-wheel drive fastback that looked like an ordinary compact, but had the capability of an off-road machine. In addition, most people didn't expect a small coupe to have a selectable four-wheel drive system, but the SX/4 did. A simple dash-mounted switch lets drivers change between two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive without any hassle. No big, clunky transfer case levers. No manual locking hubs. Just push the switch and go. That feature alone made the Eagle SX/4 way ahead of its time. Under the hood, buyers had two engine choices. There was the 150 cubic inch Iron Duke from General Motors, a tough little four-cylinder, or the 258 cubic inch inline six from AMC, which delivered solid low-end torque. A 5-speed manual transmission was available, making the SX/4 a fun, engaging driver's car. AMC gave this coupe a sporty look, with a blackout grille, flared fenders, and aggressive body moldings. Inside, it had a few unique touches like a tachometer, upgraded seats, and rally-style gauges. But what really set it apart was how well it handled. The raised suspension and all-terrain tires gave it grip on dirt roads while still being comfortable on the highway. Sadly, the SX/4 didn't last long. By 1983, AMC was struggling, and the car was discontinued. But in a world where four-wheel drive cars were rare, the Eagle SX/4 proved that a compact coupe could be just as tough as a Jeep without looking like one. Number 2. 1987 Dodge Lancer Shelby. Another hidden masterpiece on the list is a turbocharged Dodge Lancer Shelby sedan that boasts 175 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. It can rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 7 seconds. Impressive for a car that appears to be a typical family sedan. But what makes this overlooked machine so special? Let's break it down. At the core of this sleeper is a turbocharged 134 cubic inch four-cylinder engine. Unlike its standard counterparts, this version comes equipped with an intercooler and a performance-tuned setup that allows it to squeeze out every bit of available power. The boost takes a moment to build, but once it kicks in, the acceleration is undeniable. This isn't the lightest car on the road, but the combination of turbocharged muscle and well-balanced engineering allows it to launch with authority. Beyond this, a key feature that sets this car apart is its front-wheel drive layout. During its time, sending more than 150 horsepower to the front wheels wasn't common in performance cars, but this sleeper makes it work. The reinforced transaxle ensures smooth power delivery, keeping the tires planted and minimizing wheel spin. While some might have doubted its front-wheel drive performance, those who got behind the wheel quickly realized that it could handle the power with ease. Speed isn't the only thing this unknown sleeper offers. It also provides a surprising level of comfort. The interior is designed with high-end features that were ahead of its time. A premium 10-speaker Pioneer CD system was included, which was considered top-tier audio technology in its era. The cabin features deeply bolstered seats that keep the driver firmly in place during spirited driving, while also being comfortable for longer trips. While the dashboard design may have been a bit boxy, the overall package was aimed at those who wanted both performance and refinement. Despite having all the right ingredients to be a serious contender, this sleeper never found mainstream success. It didn't compete directly with luxury European models, like the Mercedes-Benz 190e or the BMW 535i, nor did it fully fit the mold of a traditional muscle car. Instead, it occupied a unique space, appealing to those who wanted a blend of turbocharged power and everyday practicality. Even though it wasn't a household name, this sedan was more than capable of holding its own on the road. With its strong turbocharged engine, refined handling, and sleeper status, it remains an underrated performance machine. It may not have had the prestige of high-end competitors, but that was never its goal. This car was built to surprise, an unassuming powerhouse that could keep up with far more expensive machines while staying completely under the radar. Number 1. 1984 Chevy iroc-z. The 1984 Chevy iroc-z is often overshadowed by other muscle cars of its time, but it deserves recognition as an underrated performance machine. While it wasn't the most powerful Camaro ever built, it had a combination of speed, handling, and road presence that made it special. This car could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 7 seconds and complete the quarter mile in about 15 seconds at 92 miles per hour. It may not have broken records, but for a car focused on more than just straight-line speed, those numbers were impressive. What set the iroc-z apart was its focus on handling and precision. Unlike some of its predecessors that relied purely on horsepower, this Camaro was built to carve corners and offer a more balanced driving experience. Chevy borrowed technology from the Corvette to enhance its performance, making it a car that felt as good in the turns as it did on the open road. Below the hood, the iroc-z came equipped with a 305 cubic inch V8 engine, producing around 215 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. That was respectable for the time, but Chevy didn't stop there. In 1987, they introduced the option of a larger 350 cubic inch V8, the same engine found in the Corvette. This upgrade pushed the power to about 225 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. By the time the iroc-z reached the end of its production in 1990, the engine had been tuned to deliver 245 horsepower and 345 pound-feet of torque. Despite these improvements, the iroc-z wasn't the most powerful Camaro ever built. For context, the legendary 1969 Camaro RS-ZL one produced over 500 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque, making it a beast in comparison. However, raw power wasn't the iroc-z's primary focus. Instead, Chevy engineered it to be one of the best handling Camaros of its era. Above all, with an upgraded suspension, thicker sway bars, and high-performance shocks, this car was built to stay planted through corners. Unlike many muscle cars that struggled with handling, the iroc-z allowed drivers to take turns at high speeds with confidence. This made it an excellent choice for those who valued precision driving over pure straight-line acceleration. In the end, the iroc-z may not have been the fastest Camaro, but it offered a level of control and balance that many cars of its time lacked. It delivered just enough power to be thrilling while excelling in handling, making every drive feel dynamic and engaging. While it doesn't always get the recognition it deserves, the iroc-z was a true sleeper, blending performance and agility in a way that few muscle cars of the era could match. So, what do you think? Did the 80s give us some of the sneakiest sleeper cars ever? Or are there even more hidden gems waiting to be rediscovered? Maybe there's a boxy, unassuming beast out there that we missed. Drop your favorite forgotten performance car from the era in the comments,